Yeah, so we are live now.
Okay.
Thank you. This is so amazing. I have today on my podcast one of the best, actually, podcast speaker and also mentor, voice and visibility mentor, Mark Sefton. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. In America, they say often that if I was any better, I'd be twins. So yeah, I'm doing really well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm very happy. So yeah, today our topic. I'm Eliza. I'm also linking social linking mentor. A very believer of communication as the most important skills in sales, in relationship, in building, the strategy for companies, hiring people. So today you're my guest, and we are talking about amazing topic, unpacking the meaning behind the words we use. And I'm very happy to have this conversation with you. Anyone who is watching us and would like to comment or would like to ask questions, please do. So, Mark, yeah, can you tell me more about this topic about the communication and how important you think for you are the words that we are using in our daily life, in our professional life?
Yeah, I think that when you're somebody like myself who has lots of conversations with people in the business world every day through interviewing people for podcasts, for interviewing people to write articles about them, obviously we're all in the business of content creation. We're all creating different content that's important for our customer and the people that we're attracting within our business. And often when I think about, because I love to reflect, it's really important. I think reflection is one of the best weapons for personal growth. And I think about, what are some of the issues and challenges that I have that I feel actually we all have to a degree. And there was kind of two main topics here that I really wanted to discuss with you. One was about words and the meaning and the definition we give to words. And the other was around identity. And I feel like both of them have some correlation. But really what I wanted to talk to you about at the start, Elisa, is really about the meaning behind the words that we use. For example, words, we use words and they're shared across the universe. Like if we use like the word love, everybody says like the words "I love you." So we're sharing words that are common to man, but actually the meaning we give to words is very personal. It's very individual, and miscommunication happens because we assume shared meaning. And I think love is a great example of this. When we say "I love you," because we share the same word, we automatically think that when somebody says "I love you," it means the same, but it doesn't, because meaning is really personal because it comes from our experience. And I think it's so important that when we are communicating, that we are giving definition to the words we use, because this is where I feel like miscommunication really causes havoc in both our personal life and our professional life. Because I could say to you, Elisa, I love you because I buy you flowers every week. And if you think that you love me because you show me affection, or you tell me I look handsome, we could both end up feeling unloved. When in reality, we could argue, I do love you because I buy you flowers, and I do love you because I show you affection, I tell you you're handsome. And this is where we have to become more clear in when we communicate with someone. And that's why it's really important to develop a skill or an experience that actually asks two really important questions, which is, what does this mean to you? And what does that look like? Because I think sometimes, and if we just move away from love and we just talk about, if somebody says to you, Mark, I want space, I'm thinking, okay, they want space. So automatically we have our own lens of understanding. And so if I want space, it probably looks like 2 hours to myself, not being asked questions, kind of just being left alone. But if somebody else's idea of space is actually a week without really communicating, or just taking a longer time because they have a greater need, then it can cause conflict, because the one person who thinks space means 2 hours says, well, I gave you space. I gave you those 2 hours, to breathe, to be able to do your own thing. And for the other person, they're like, 2 hours, it's not enough. And it causes all these tensions and all this discord, which is why I think it's a really important topic to talk about.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. You're totally right. I think everybody interpret the words in different, in the own way, and it comes also from cultural. Sometimes we are working or being with people from different culture, like me and I'm originally from Poland. You're from UK. Some people are from India, and also in their language, they have different types of communication language, which maybe something different means to you, something different means to them. Sometimes the experience that we have, some psychology. I'm also a mindset coach studying psychology 10 years. So the experience, the way you were raised, the in what kind of family, how your parents talk to you, also make a huge difference. Then you start to communicate. You actually sometimes you're giving the same pattern in your adult's life, maybe to your children, to your partner, to your business people, because that's how you were raised. That's how this pattern were implemented in you. But I'm a great believer, as you know, also in terms of coaching, that you can always change it. So you can always improve the communication. You can always improve your action, or your the way you have been programmed, because it's kind of like a program. And definitely true that when we communicate, we interpreted that in different ways. So that's why I'm also a great believer that it's great when people make an effort in any relationship. It's like a business or even a friend relationship, and asking more questions, more deeper questions. Because as you said, if someone will give you the answer to your questions, I need like this time for myself, and you don't deep dive what does it mean for you, then you might be in a conflict with your partner, or is it at work? Maybe your employee tell you, oh, I need a day off. Is it, what does it mean a day off? Do you need like half an hour? Full day? Maybe why we are sick? So the more we start to care about each other, and ask these deeper questions and interpretation, then we always get more information. And I think that will help us also, to improve this situation. What do you think?
I don't think that there's ever going to be a problem with us focusing on communication. I don't think you can over communicate. I think that I always think about John Maxwell. I've talked about him a lot because I love some of
Yeah,
his thought leadership
me
stuff.
too. I love him. Yeah, yeah. It's a great leader.
He is, and very knowledgeable. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah,
One of his thoughts is, many communicate but few connect, and I think this is a great underlining of what we're really getting at today, is that there is communication, but we're not connecting because we have often two people with two different thoughts, two different ideas, two different experiences, two different cultures. And so the importance of us actually connecting where there's an understanding, it is quite rare for us to end up with relationships, both personally and professionally, where you have such a synergy, where somebody knows what it is that you're really getting at, without you even having to tell them. It does happen, but it's not.
that's happened. Yeah, it
It
does
just
happen.
doesn't happen that often. You know,
Yeah,
it may happen to a couple of people in your life where it's almost like you don't see them for a year or two, and you
yeah,
just pick up from where you left off. There's no attitude. There's no insecurity. There's nothing that is a problem. It's almost like there's just a knowing. But in most cases, relationships or work, the way that we speak, I think tone is really important as well when it comes to communication. The way we say
yeah,
things, is
Yeah.
often more of a solution or a problem based on how we communicate than anything else. So it's not just about when somebody says, I need this from you. We don't just ask them, well, what does that look like? And actually, what does that mean to you? Because I think these are really important questions, especially if it's something really important, especially if somebody's stressed or overwhelmed. When they say, like, I need time out, it's kind of, okay, happy for you to take time out. What does that look like? What do you mean by that? Because sometimes it's actually got nothing to do with the other person. And yet
Yeah.
sometimes we take it as a personal attack, or that we're too much, or we're too intense. And I think that that's something that takes time. Relationships take time, but they're worth taking the time. And I think self awareness for me, when you know who you are and you know what you want, you're able to then communicate that more effectively by also articulating, not just I need space, but also saying, I need space. And this means that over the next week, I'm just going to take time to read a book, to have a bath, you know, and I just really just need that time just to be with myself. And I think we can help as well by kind of really painting that picture of what that really looks like within our needs.
Yeah. And I see lots of people actually also have maybe this kind of, barrier barrier in terms of the communication. I think it helps a lot when we stop doing this, and we be more brave, be assertive. Is it like in our personal life or working life? Because I like to lead with kindness and understand every person like individual person with the feelings, skills, and it's a human being. So it's important that this human being is communicating. It doesn't matter if it's like manager, colleague, as you said, in also in difficult or easy situation, what is the problem? Because there is also always solutions to a problem. But I think some of us are still afraid to communicate, like, to say what really happened, what was, as you said, in this moment when you need time off, or you don't really want to communicate all because maybe it means that it will be something wrong. So I think the honesty in leadership or in working environment and in private is super important, and not to be afraid to talk, um, because I also studied psychology. I know there are introvert, extrovert people. There are people who doesn't want to talk so much. You need to open them up. When you work in sales, you have a clients like that, so you need to learn how to open them up, ask them more questions. But I think we should still be more brave and uh, leading with heart. I mean, and everybody is a person, so respect whatever he want to say. He has the right to say, and maybe that is also the lack of communication between people, because they're afraid to communicate really what they want to say. And then there is this conflict, there is misunderstanding. I think this is also some kind of what I observed from my 10 years experience working in different organization, with people, with teams, with leaders. And I seen this. What do you think? Is it something that you see as well?
I think if people are afraid to share their truth, in most cases, it's because they haven't really seen or appreciated or respected the fullness of their own value or the fullness of their own worth. For me,
Yeah.
people that are afraid to express how they feel, it's really showing me that they really haven't reached a point in their life where they've transitioned from looking for the approval and validation of other people and moved into that sphere of validating and improving of yourself. It's one of the most important and necessary steps that as human beings we all need to make, that we shift from waiting and hoping that somebody's going to come along and say, you know what, Mark, you're all right. Or you know what, Mark, you're enough. Or you know what, Mark, you have a voice. Until you reach a point where you validate yourself, where you approve of self, you're
Yeah.
always going to be afraid of what somebody else thinks. But the truth and the reality is, we are with ourselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if we're going to continue to care about what other people think that don't know us to the level that we know ourselves, we're always going to struggle. So I think for me, we've got to get into the habit of really knowing and being in a position where we're validating ourselves and we're approving of self. The other thing that we really need to just let the penny drop with, which for me is really liberating. For me, if somebody doesn't understand you, if somebody doesn't get you, if somebody doesn't like you, they are not your person. They are not your people. So stop trying to convince them. Stop trying to persuade them. Stop trying to negotiate. If somebody doesn't like you, they're not for you. So the liberation here is when you find who you are and you're true to you and you live out of that authentic self, other authentic people will be drawn to you. We attract who we are. So
Yeah.
as we become validating of self, we attract people who are also validated by self. They're secure, they're no longer insecure, which means there isn't that need to pretend, there isn't that need to kind of convince someone that you're worth. The world needs presence over performance, and this is where we need to shift in our relationships. You don't perform for your partner, it's your presence, it's who you are that is really the key to meaningful, deep relationships and conversations. So they're really my thoughts on what you asked.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's all, I totally agree. It's like a self-image. Also, from the coaching perspective, it's like a topic of about the self-image. So it's super important that the self-image, is really right and it's really positive, and you start to first love yourself. So, and do not take anything personally. I also say, not only in private life but also in your professional life. If even your clients, this is not the client for you, it doesn't mean that the other client would like not to be one of your clients. So you're totally right. I agree. And I think we should not put so much pressure on us, especially on organization. When we put so much pressure on who, what to say to us, we just need to believe in ourselves, our strengths, skills, and ability that we have, and serve other people, clients, and choose the right partners. Not only, I always say, it's 5 people that you're around. They really say a lot about you. So it could be like your coach, your partner in life. It could be your friend. But if these people are, are the one who motivates you, who are positive, who want the best from you, and as you said, that you feel really great around, it's enough. These 5 people. And it's all about internal work. And of course, there are still people who don't have this work done. So it's great to work on yourself and do not take anything personally. And from a professional perspective, I totally agree that if this company is not for you, maybe the manager doesn't really, accept you, motivate you, take the best out of you that you can grow. This is not the right team. This is not the right company for you, and there is always space for new challenges and opportunities. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Great, lovely conversation. Anything else to add to this amazing topic about the?
Obviously I mentioned at the start, that for me it's the meaning we give to words, but then it's also identity is something that's really important to me. I feel like the world is definitely in an identity crisis. I feel for my children. I have 3 children that are 18, 16, and 12. Like the world that they live in, there's so much confusion. There's so many different shades now. It's almost like it's gone from one situation where people are oppressed and can't be themselves, which isn't right. Everybody should be able to choose who they are and how they live and how they show up. So I'm a big believer in that. but I also think that we've created a lot of confusion, um, because of the fact that we're allowing so many options and thoughts and feelings to kind of have place, that in some ways it's created more of a problem. And I think, often our identity is shaped by the words that we use as well. Like we've talked about the definition of words and the meaning that we give to words by our own personal experience, and how miscommunication comes when we assume that the word that is used, like love or I need space, has the same meaning. But I think identity is also shaped by the words we use over ourselves. And that's something for me that we need to be really focused on too. It's that relationship with self, which I've touched on, and in terms of shifting from waiting for somebody to approve of you and for validating you, and now moving into a space where you approve of yourself, validate self. But I feel like the words we also use over our own life are really important. I mean, I think self talk is really important. I think, even in the Bible, in Proverbs, King David would say to his own soul, "Oh my soul, why are you so downcast?" And he would actually speak to his own soul. And I think that we don't do this enough. We don't encourage ourselves enough by the words that we speak over our life, and often the words we speak are often quite critical. You idiot, why did you do that? Or, you're so stupid, why did you ignore that red flag? Rather than, saying, you're amazing, you saw the green flag and you moved into that. And I feel like this is really important too, that we forget that the words we speak also shape our identity, and what we welcome into life.
Totally agree. I love this topic, of course. So the self-talk is super important. It's the words you use on a daily basis, and it comes also from the child. So you see, some people are incredible positive, because, like, I try to, for example, raise my daughter this way. I start even learning coaching when I was pregnant. So then the moment I will never, maybe not a criticize her, but I start to choose the right empowering words to her, that she's always, like, really accepted, really empowered, not making maybe narcissistic person, but creating her identity in that way. She will know her value, she will achieve whatever she wants in life, and try to be not critical, but more positive. So they say thoughts, and your mind is super super powerful. So everything you talk in your mind to yourself, every thoughts, it's a communication internal language, and it should be positive, should be empowering. And it's like a learning process. It's a constant self development, and you need to always improve it. It's like when I joined self development, I'm in the Bob Proctor Institute since 10 years. They told me it's not a one course, it's not one lesson, you will stay forever, because you will be moving, learning every day, every time, do the gratitude exercise. And the same with our thoughts. We can always try to program ourselves, and there always be negative words, because something negative will happen, we cannot control. But definitely we can control this inner worlds, as you said, and that influence on our daily life and our professional life, our partner life. Because when you are happy internally, you can spread that happiness to your work environment, to your colleagues, to your husband, to your children. So it's really important. The self-image is the most important item with the identity and the words we speak, definitely. And I totally agree with you. But I also see myself that sometimes, even me, I can sabotaging myself, because sometimes people are ambitious, and sometimes me, I catch myself that sometimes I put myself under this kind of negative thought, even as a coach. So I try to still work on myself, because when something went wrong, so you want to see, oh, you try to put on yourself negative rather than positive. But I think it's a constant work, and it's super super important to do it, and to choose the words we use internally. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I'm going to share a true story, which I think it's true. It's a true story, but I also think that it can be a metaphor for the impact that our voice and our words can have, not only on other people but ourselves. I
Yeah.
remember, I remember when my ex-wife was pregnant with our first child, and I was driving my ex-wife to work, and we're in the car together, and she was pregnant with our first child. And I remember, because I've always been a certain man who likes to sing. So often I sing if I'm happy. If I'm happy, I'm singing.
Very
So
good. Yeah.
if you ever hear me singing, like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but I noticed that when I used to sing in the car with my ex-wife next to me when she was like heavily pregnant, my ex-wife would say, "Oh, Lois is kicking a lot. She's moving a lot. She's responding. She was really responding to my voice, very active." And then when it came to Lois being born, my ex-wife was in labor for about 36 hours. It was quite a difficult labor. Had to be born with forceps. And actually, when Lois came out and she came into this world, she was rasping for breath. Her breathing wasn't clear. It was quite raspy. And they had to take care of my ex-wife. So basically, there was me and the midwife. They put Lois in this little toaster, and she was rasping for breath. And then it came to mind that whenever I sang, it was when Lois was most active, most. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to start singing over Lois. Literally, she's like 10 minutes old and she's not breathing properly. And I started singing over her, and she started to calm. She started to breathe. She started to settle. And within 10 minutes, she was perfectly fine. She'd completely calmed down, completely stabilized, and was
Yeah.
absolutely fine. And I just think that that's a great metaphor, not only for ourselves when we're speaking, or in this case, singing, the importance of the way we express and the tone and the richness and the familiarity, for me, gives us a chance to bring peace to ourselves and to other people, and helps other people breathe as well as ourselves. If we can really become a lot more kinder and consistent in the way that we express ourselves. And for me, this is a beautiful metaphor for the way we can impact in a real way the lives of others and ourselves.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful said, Mark. Beautiful. Really, it's totally true. And I love the example of singing, because
Mm.
it's really impact your child, and it's really calm down. So the voice, the power of the voice, and also the attitude is so important. And great reflection. I will add, from my own reflection, how I approach communication language, my clients, people I am around. Of course, I choose again my mentor, Bob Proctor, who said, leave every person with the impression of increase. And the moment I enter in a room, the moment I speak on the phone, the moment I have an online client, I always make them important, and I always give them compliment, and always try to be very positive. And I know the people I work so far 10 years ago, they feel that, they feel that they give me even great feedback about my sense of humor, positivism. But it's important for me, because the person we are having on a daily basis, they are important for us. So it's work environment, private environment. So as you said, the tone of voice, the positive attitude, bit of laugh, make people really relax, because you have, as I said, different background people with different experience. They went through maybe very traumatic experience. You never know who you talk to. So as you said, exactly, be kind, respect other people, and really value them. That you have a person in front of you, not only client, even this is a person as well. So it's worth to be kind and empowering and positive, and really treat others with respect. So I'll add to your point this with the words. Great,
Mm.
very interesting podcast today. Very, very
Important. It's important
good
because
topic.
we're talking about things that actually don't cost us money. The
Yeah,
things that are going to improve our relationship. They're going to improve our peace. They're going to improve the way that we're seen and respected. We do have to teach people how to love us. We do have to teach people how to communicate. We also need to take example by the way we communicate and treat ourselves. Like I said, like people that don't share their truth are the people that haven't actually accepted the importance of accepting themselves for who they are. When we're constantly looking for validation, looking for approval, looking for respect, it's because we're not approving, we're not uh, affirming, we're not loving, we're not valuing who we really are. Because as soon as you value, you know what's acceptable and what isn't. And I think that's wonderful when you reach that place where you're like, actually, you can't speak to me like that because
yeah,
I deserve more respect. I'm not tolerating that. One of my favorite thoughts is examine what you tolerate. Because in life, we all receive to the level in which we will tolerate and accept. So, in
yeah,
some ways, when we are in a bad relationship, we have to accept the fact that we have also allowed that behavior, allowed that, relationship to continue to grow and fester the way it is. We have to take accountability and responsibility.
definitely, definitely, and it's in any relationship. It's like between your private relationship, or also your maybe your professional. If you see there is an environment which is toxic, or it's not bringing you value, you're not appreciated, and you know your value, how much you can bring to the table, you just need to leave, or you just need to not accept it. Never, never accept it as well. Especially women, I think we still there are countries where that the rights of the woman are the same as men, but there are countries where they're not. So I would love that will change, and the woman has the right to always change the environment, the position when they work, and never accept any humiliation. It doesn't matter, is it like from private relationship or work environment. Never, and move on. It's important.
Mhm.
Definitely. Great, 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 great. Anything else to add?
No, I
Maybe.
mean, for me, it's like I always think that, when you're producing content, when you're doing a podcast, for me, you don't just, speak for the sake of speaking. I think sometimes less is definitely more.
Yeah,
Um, I think, as creators, as people that have a voice, I think, I love that thought that you shared about Bob Proctor, which was, to leave everybody with a sense of increase. I think, for me, that's always been like my ambition and my vision is to leave everybody that I interact with in a better place than what I found them when I first had that conversation, had that meeting, that gathering. And I
yeah,
think that the homework for all of us is to really be understanding of the words that we use and to quantify what those words mean to us when we communicate. When other people are communicating with us and they use words like space, love, connection, unhappy, that we're really asking them, what does that mean to you? What does that look like? Because without the meaning and what it looks like, we can have such a difference of understanding. And then it's very much about how our identity is also affected by the words that we speak and say over ourselves, and how, our tone and the way that we show up not only for ourselves but for others is really important.
Definitely, totally agree. And yeah, it's really important, the tone of voice, the way you speak, and how you leave the person, what kind of feeling, what kind of experience they have. It can be private life, as I said, professional life, even people you work with. You want to remember we are in a short period of time in this life here, and no matter how many people we work with, colleagues we work with, the respect and how you want to be remembered. When I remember they asked Bob Proctor how you want to be remembered when you leave. He died um, 4 years ago, 2022. I remember because my mom died just the day after him. So
Hmm.
they asked, he said, great student. He didn't say that he's a leader, he's the most famous coach in the world. He said a great student. So we are here always students. We can always learn and improve. And yeah, any of us that we have in contact with are important people, that if you want to build a relationship on a longer basis, and really serve your clients, customers, and have a happy team, you should communicate really, really value with kindness, with positive mindset, and mind the words, as I said, that you use, because as you said, it might be really different interpretation from different cultures, from different experience of people. So yeah, that I would leave on my note, if anyone who watching this will benefit from our conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining, and I hope I'll join your beautiful podcast soon. I remember you invite me, and tell us where our viewers can find you, and where can when can also, if someone want to join your podcast, please let them know how they can contact you.
Yeah, I mean, my website's marksefton.com. Sefton's with a PH. I think I'm probably most accessible on Instagram or LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
currently host three podcasts. One is the Female CEO podcast, which is all about women in leadership, women empowerment. I'm a big advocate for women in business. I also have the Plugged In podcast, which is for those in the AI, tech, and fintech space. And I do that with a company in America called Grit Daily.
Right.
And I also have the Prosperity podcast, which I do with the Prosperity Network. They're based in the States as well. I've loved having the opportunity to interview over 5,400 people across TV, radio, and podcasting. I'm fascinated by human behavior. Would be delighted for anybody to reach out, to ask a question, to say hi, and if they wanted a direct link to any of the articles that I've wrote for Entrepreneur or Success Magazine, then feel free to reach out. It's been great to have this discussion with you, Elisa.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and I'll highly recommend to follow Mark Sefton. And he's a great collaborator, because I remember we were together in a Brands magazine, posting me as also fashion designer. And of course, follow our next Speakers Net podcast on my Lisa coaching platform. And if you would like also to have social media linking optimization coaching, communication coaching for startups or leaders, you can also contact me. So thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
have a wonderful day, Mark.
You too.
Yeah, thank you, everyone watching us. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.